Amadora. Currently 15th in the Liga Portugal, looking to cement their place in the division for a 4th successive year, having finished 15th last time around as well, with a total of 29 points. As of right now, with 4 games yet to be played, they have 28 points to their name, which means they are on the cusp of eclipsing last season's points total, and yet they remain 15th in the division after 30 games, with just 6 wins all season in the league. As of right now, they are a comfortable 7 points ahead of the drop zone, with Tondela currently occupying the best placed position inside of the relegation zone. They will fancy themselves for safety, but it's unlikely that it will be at the hands of Estrela. At the same time, Porto looking to win the Liga Portugal, having come just shy of challenging for the title. When it comes to the 2024-25 campaign, they finished a full 11 points behind the league winners Sporting CP, but they did make the UEFA Europa League places in this most recent season prior to this one. It's a competition that they were knocked out of at the quarter-final stage very recently at the hands of English side Nottingham Forest, who are going toe-to-toe with their fellow countrymen Aston Villa for an opportunity to play in the final. As for Porto's league position this season, it looks very likely indeed that they are going to be returning to the Champions League. 4 points ahead of Benfica at the top of the Liga Portugal coming into this game, which will be their 4th to last in the Liga Portugal season for 2025-26. Should they keep up their incredible run that they have put together in the league, then they will be declared champions. And this game doesn't appear to be much of a banana skin really for the Dragons, when you consider that in the reverse fixture that took place at the Estadio de Dragão all the way back in the middle of December, it was a 3-1 win for the then hosts, thanks to a goal from the currently injured Samuel Agahoa, as well as a strike from Francisco Moura, who is currently on the bench, and an own goal from Giovene Cabral, who is on the bench as well for Estrela. It was Abraham Marcus, the top scorer for Estrela in the league this season, who scored the only goal of that game for Estrela. We are seconds from kick-off, stay tuned. A very jovial handshake on the touchline between these two managers ahead of this game. João Nuno in charge of this Estrela team, Francesco Farioli for FC Porto, with Nuno having been in charge of his current team ever since the 28th of September earlier this season, the 28th September 2025. That would be when he made an almighty jump from the Liga 3, the 3rd division of Portuguese football, to join Estrela. He was headhunted by the team who he currently manages, and he has done enough as of right now, with the season to end tomorrow, to preserve their spot in the top division, which they can be more than grateful for. And to aim for more is to dare to dream, really, for Estrela de Amadora. In terms of FC Porto, with Farioli having been in charge since July of last year, this is his first full season in the dugout for the Dragons, and it looks as though he is more than delivering on his promise to return them to the pinnacle of Portuguese football. A capacity crowd of 9,288 fans packed inside the Estadio José Gomes ahead of this game. One more thing to address before the kick-off is the fact that the man in charge of this game is going to be Mr. Helder Carvalho, and the VAR will be Mr. Luis Ferreira. With any luck, we won't have to say either of those names again throughout the proceedings. And it is going to be Estrela who get us kicked off for this game in their green and white striped shirts with the white shorts and the white socks, from right to left in a 4-3-3 formation. Porto mirroring their opponents in their all navy blue strip with the yellow trim from left to right. And I'm now noticing the red stripes that are also finding their way down the shirts of the Estrela players. And the first action of the game, we'll see Rodrigo Pinho of Estrela commit a foul on Alberto Costa of FC Porto, as Porto pinch back possession following a long clearance after the Estrela kickoff. Here is Jan Bednarek, the Polish defender now for Porto. Out to the left-hand side from the veteran defender Thiago Silva to Jakub Kiwior. Kiwior gets the return now from the man who's playing much further up the field than he is down the left-hand side, in 17-year-old fellow Polish international Oskar Pietaszewski. Quite the Polish contingent in this Porto dressing room, it is worth mentioning, with Kiwior and Bednarek and Pietaszewski. Of course, they are not one to outnumber the amount of Portuguese players who dominate the dressing room for the Dragons, as has always been the case, especially the captain in Diogo Costa. At this stage, looking at a Porto lineup that does not feature their number 99 in between the sticks would almost look wrong on the eye. There's a little bit of pressure is applied now by Rodrigo Pinho, the Estrela captain. A little bit of pressure onto the FC Porto backline. Thiago Silva, in his 2-decade-long career at the top of European and South American football, not want to be put under pressure even by a fellow countryman such as Pinho. 41 years of age is Thiago Silva, and still going strong for FC Porto, still a reliable hand as the Dragons charge towards the Liga Portugal title. Switch from right to left now for Estrela, well brought down by Eanis Stocia. Now further out to the left hand side for the overlapping run of the Mozambique international Langa. He pulls it back to the midfielder Kevin Hug Jansen. Now Langa again on the left hand side, able to swing a dangerous delivery towards the penalty area, which is comfortably dealt with in the end by Jan Bednarek for Porto. The clearance is made down the left hand side. Estrela able to mop up following a little bit of a hit and hope ball forward in the end for the league leaders, which has now led to a little bit of a scramble right on the edge of the defensive third for Estrela. And for the first time today, the referee is going to have a word with the player, because the collision came between Gabri Veiga and a retreating Abraham Marcus, and that was followed up by a second coming together between Bruno Langa and Victor Froholt, and it was that second challenge made by the Mozambique left-back onto the Danish midfielder. After the initial advantage, that has now drawn the ire of the man in yellow, and now it will be the man in baby blue in between the sticks for Estrela, who is barking orders at his three-man wall because there is a free kick for the home team to defend. Standing over the top of it, offering the right-footed option, is going to be Gabri Veiga. Up goes the arm from the Spaniard, and in goes the delivery, which goes past the goalkeeper, and it's going to be volleyed just wide in the end by Jan Bednarek. That looked like a dead certain goal, as it was lifted right the way over to the back post. There is a question of offside as that free kick is floated in, but that is somehow kept in play right on the byline by Denis Gül. And as he lays it off to Bednarek, who swipes at it from the corner of the 6-yard box, all he can do is kiss the side netting on its way past. As Renan Ribeiro in between the sticks for Estrela could do nothing but watch it sail past his post. That was a really good opportunity for the league leaders to take the lead away from home at the Estadio José Gómez. And it's an opportunity that's passed them by, which is not something that's very easily said about FC Porto in the Liga Portugal this season. Now here come Estrela down the left hand side. They're charging forward on the counter-attack. It's the Romanian winger Stocia who has his pocket picked, but the ball is recovered for the home team by Jansen. He turns and plays it back to Langa. Now in the midfield area, it's a bit of a careless pass right into Victor Froholt there by Eddie Doué, but the attempted pass now by Froholt to the forward line for Porto is cut out on the halfway line by a retreating Jansen, and now it's back out to Stoicher on the left. Now here is Jansen once more. Pulled back to Otavio, the only substitution that has been made, or the only change I suppose that has been made, not a substitution. The only swapping out of the starting 11 that took to the field in the most recent game that Estrela have played. It was a 1-0 defeat against Arouca that has been preceded by 2 further defeats in the Liga Portugal. Seems like quite a while for those Estrela fans since they've been able to record a goal for themselves in the Liga Portugal. 4 games ago at this stage, but they put 4 of them past Casapia, another team involved in this relegation battle which they find themselves in, but they certainly hold many of the cards in that regard. It's Pietaszewski now, who's just tried his luck from range, about 25 yards away, left of centre. and his low drive has been drilled into the outstretched leg of Stefan Lekovic, and the Serbian concedes a Porto corner. This will be their first of the game. An opportunity to flood the box with bodies. The likes of Silva and Bednarek are going to make their presences felt right in the heart of that Estrella penalty area. It'll be a delivery from the left-hand side. Once the referee's happy with everybody's positioning. In swinger. And it's fumbled a little bit by the goalkeeper. It's eventually gone wide. That was very hard to tell what happened. I believe it was Kiwior who was leaping the highest for that opportunity at the near post. I'm not sure he's able to reach it, but I think the ball is beaten down by Ribeiro right onto the back of Jakub Kiwior, and eventually is bundled wide of the post by a hair. That could have gone very badly wrong indeed for Estrella de Amadora. They're going to get away with it in this case. And this is good work from Porto in the midfield. Driving down the right hand side. Pepe's found himself into a little bit of space. He's been caught up too well by Langer, who makes an emphatic clearance down the line, and I think it reached the halfway line before it actually went over the touchline and out for what will be a Porto throw. And it's at this stage of the game, 7.5 minutes in, just over, with the game at 0-0, that a report is coming through to me now that the goalkeeper, who was initially pegged to start this game in Renan Ribeiro, has actually not been the man appointed in between the sticks at the end of the day here. So a correction at home to be made to your team sheets if you're paying attention. The man in between the sticks this evening for Estrella de Amadora is David Grillo. It's unclear why Renan Ribeiro featured on the team sheet and has since dropped out of the starting 11. But the presence of Grillo, who was initially meant to be on the bench, is potentially going to make an almighty difference to the home team. Very late change coming into this game then. It appears my initial speculation that the only change that had been made by Estrella coming into this one was Otavio being brought into the back line for Chapo, has aged like milk. Not often you see that, but just in case it's anything that can't be helped by the normal starting goalkeeper for Estrella in Ribeiro, and we send him our best wishes. For now it is going to be Grillo who takes to commanding his team from in between the sticks, and now he's going to have some work to do because Porto are driving forward, and it's a low shot from the edge of the penalty area that leaves something to be desired from Gabri Veiga. He knows he's capable of better than that. Just a fraction inside of the left-hand side of the penalty area, but still about 10 yards back or so from the line. Deciding that shooting was his best option is probably not something that he wished he'd done in that situation. Kept it low. Couldn't quite keep it as accurate as he would have hoped, and now the goal kick is taken by David Grillo. Well, 10 minutes in, there's already been 3 attempts on goal recognised by Opta for FC Porto. None of them on target to this stage, as Estrella try and create their first concrete attacking opportunity of the game. It's cut out in the defensive line by Thiago Silva for FC Porto. Now here is Jan Bednarek and Silva again, as we now reach double figures on the clock. Estrella de Amadora 0, FC Porto 0. Now here goes Thiago Silva, going on a bit of an adventurous run over the halfway line, and he's able to lift it out to the left hand side. Here goes Pietaszewski looking to square it from the left, and the intervention is made, and the clearance didn't look all that comfortable for Stefan Lekovic. Picking it up now on the right hand side in the corner of the pitch is Eddie Doué, being put under pressure by 2 players in navy blue, and eventually Estrella wriggle their way out of trouble. Doué now brings down the ball on the edge of the defensive third, and with bodies few and far between in a defensive manner for Porto, here come Estrella down the left. It's Stocia. Into the feet of Pino now. Challenges from all angles as he makes his way towards the edge of the box, eventually able to release it back to Stoica on the left hand side. The delivery is teasing from the Romanian. It's half cleared, And it's Stoicher again with a very ambitious effort from the edge of the penalty area. He made his way into the middle there to try and follow up on that attacking opportunity. It was Abraham Marcus who was unable to bring it down just inside the penalty area. It bounced a little awkwardly for Stoicher, who decided that his best opportunity was to shoot. Couldn't resist on the bounce for the half volley. Unfortunately for him, it goes away for not necessarily a Porto goal kick. Instead, it's going to be a Porto throw. That tells you how wayward the strike was in the end. Launched back into play then for Porto by Jakub Kiwior, operating as a left back as he did during his time with Arsenal before heading out to FC Porto. For any English listeners, Kiwior is not the only man in this Porto team with Premier League experience. Of course, Thiago Silva, who's already been name dropped, was a regular feature at Chelsea despite his veteran status by the time he joined the Stamford Bridge side. Same applies to his central back partner in Jan Bednarek, formerly of Southampton. Well, there's Borja Sainz on the bench, who is the 4th top scorer in the league this season for FC Porto, formerly of Norwich City, where he made a real storm in the English second division. It'll be interesting to see if he gets the opportunity to strut his stuff today. Likely we'll be waiting for the second half for that, as Porto try and create something now from the midfield. It's Rosario, the Dominican Republic international, who attempts to slip it forward down the right hand side for the run of Pepe. Not going to find his target, but the interception doesn't allow Estrella to maintain the ball. Here is Rosario again following the throw in, right in the middle of the Estadio Jose Gomez. Plays it forward to Froholt, and the return is to Thiago Silva. Now Rosario again trying to slip it right away in behind, and Dennis Gould went down. He felt he was being dragged back there on the edge of the penalty area. Looked as though he was ready to run at full speed and latch onto that ball as it crossed the line into the Estrella box. But he felt from behind that he had been grabbed, went down to the ground, but the referee, the man in charge of this game, Eder Carvalho, deciding that there wasn't enough contact worthy for the Turkish forward to drop down to the ground in the manner that he did. Well, the clearances are not coming easy for Estrella now as Piataszewski runs into traffic, but the ball is picked up now by Kiwior. He pulls it back to Vega on the edge of the box, and the switch is ambitious but finds its target. Froholt's delivery, it must be for Gould, it's over the top. How on earth has Dennis Gould not scored the opening goal? On 15 minutes, it was on a plate for the Turkish forward, and all he's been able to do is put it over the top of David Grillo's crossbar. Froholt's delivery, I think Gould might have just about mistimed his run, but he reaches it on the edge of the 6-yard area completely unmarked, and somehow isn't able to keep his shot down and force a save or potentially put the ball in the net. It would have been subject to VAR whether or not the goal would have stood, but you've got to finish your dinner from that distance if you're the starting striker for a team that wants to win the league. You have to imagine these chances won't be few and far between though for Porto as they come forward again, this time down the left. It's Piataszewski into the penalty area, still Piataszewski, on he goes down, it must be a penalty. He's been tripped in the box, and I'm sure the referee just indicated that that will be a spot kick. It looks as though the blushes of Dennis Gould are going to be spared in the immediate aftermath of that missed opportunity. Oscar Piataszewski running full speed at Stefan Lekovic, and he is tripped from the side as he makes his way into the box, and the referee, no hesitation, indicating that yes, it should be a penalty kick. Really good feet from the Polish teenager. This way and that as he made his way into the box. He squeezed his way in between Schulze and a fellow defender, and in the end the actual challenge is made by Kevin Hug Janssen, the midfielder in retreat. Lekovic is the initial man to attempt the stop. Piataszewski gets past him, and it's an errant outstretched leg from Janssen that Piataszewski was always going to go over. Well, here comes a golden opportunity now for Porto. Janssen goes in the book. It's the first yellow card of the day, and he can have few complaints. He was simply beaten by the quick feet of Oscar Piataszewski. And now from 12 yards, it's Dennis Gould who has the opportunity to put his team in front and help the Dragons take one step closer to the Liga Portugal title. Every goal matters at this stage of the season. There's a 4-point gap between them and Benfica, who they have a game in hand on. This particular game, as of this weekend, will allow them to instate a 7-point margin at the top of the table. And this penalty kick could go a long way to confirming that. It's Turkey facing off against Portugal. It's Gould facing off against Grillo. It's Gould, and it's blasted down the middle. It's right into the back of the net from Dennis Gould, who is on the score sheet again. What else would you expect from the man who leads the line for Porto? In the absence of top scorer Samuel Agahawa, he's the man that's been trusted to lead the line, and he repays that trust that's been placed in him by Francesco Farioli with a clinical penalty. 17 minutes on the clock. Estrela da Amadora 0, Porto 1. No mistake from 12 yards for Dennis Gould. So much power in that, it might have taken David Grillo's head off had he stood still. He dived down to his left and the ball sails past him into the net. And the majority now inside the Estadio Jose Gomez will have to get behind their team if they want to see their side get anything out of this game. It's a game they can't have come into expecting to win, especially not off the back of 3 league defeats. It's the third of the season for Dennis Gould. And it looks as though Porto are going to continue an impressive unbeaten run that they've had in the Liga Portugal. Stretches back quite a while, as much as they would prefer to ignore the results against the likes of Famalicão and that draw with Sporting Lisbon that saw them exit the Taça de Portugal last time out. Victories over Tondela, Estoril Praia, and of course fellow European candidates in SC Braga. And here they are again in a commanding position in a league game. Favioli stoic as ever on the touchline. Throwing to come now for Estrela. A little bit of mind games there from Bruno Langa, who was taking the throw, with plenty of bodies getting into the penalty area. In the end, the throw-in was taken short by the Mozambique fullback, as a challenge is made here on Jan Bednarek, and the referee very keen to encourage play on there, because the challenge that was made was Yanis Stoica driving for the loose ball, looking to get there ahead of Bednarek, and I think as both players went for the same ball, one caught the other. Could have very much gone either way, that 50-50 challenge, and the referee noticed that, and despite the protests of Rodrigo Pinho, no free kick's been awarded to Estrela in a very advanced position inside of the Porto half. Instead, the Dragons are allowed to make their clearance, and it's a clearance that eventually results in a free kick of their own from the halfway line, which is ambitiously launched right the way into the penalty area, only to be smothered by Grillo with very little competition for the loose ball. Thrown out to the left hand side now for Langa. Backwards it goes from Stoica. Now back into the midfield area where Stoica regains possession. He's got Pinho ahead of him if he fancies. If he also looks out to his left, he might find Eddie Doué on the overlap. Doué forced to come central now as he battles away with Pietaszewski to maintain possession for Estrela. Not something they're able to do. And now here come Porto down the right hand side. Opportunity for Gabri Veiga to potentially tease a ball into the penalty area. It's not an opportunity that he decides he's going to take. Pepe turns and finds Froholt. Now it's back with Thiago Silva. Now Rosario into the feet of Bednarek. Almost a bit of a hospital pass back to Thiago Silva there for FC Porto, that was thankfully able to reach the Brazilian before being intercepted. Here goes Rosario now into the feet of Froholt, driving into the penalty area down the right. It's Froholt's attempted cross. There's plenty of claims for a hand as it's closed down at source. Don't think going to get through the referee's ear deflectors there. Getting in the way of that delivery was Eddie Doué. And the referee encourages play to continue with the initial decision of a corner. Getting the word in his ear from Luis Ferreira that close range cross from Froholt did not result in a handball, and a slow motion replay will certainly confirm that. Hands clasped behind the back for Eddie Doué. Now here comes a Porto corner, outswinger. It's Gabri Vega's delivery. It's blasted into the air from the corner of the 6-yard area. In fact, I'm not sure what actually happened there. I think the referee's just awarded a goal kick. It looked like the delivery had just been kicked out of the stadium on the near side. Oh, the referee's awarded a free kick. Excuse my ignorance there. There was a collision inside of the penalty area, I believe involving Victor Froholt, that the referee has decided the Danishman was a bit too over-aggressive with, and the free kick is going to allow an unimpeded opportunity for Estrela to clear their lines, and it reaches the halfway line before Porto win it back, and they're going to go down the left this time. It's Pietaszewski. He lays it off to Vega. Vega to Rosario. Trip from behind. Referee says free kick. Rodrigo Pinho the aggressor on that occasion. Free kick taken relatively quickly and taken backwards for FC Porto. Here is Thiago Silva. Now Bednarek back to Silva. Edge of the centre circle. Right of centre. And it's Alberto Costa who stabs it forward. Now Pepe doing his best to run left and right and try and escape the presence of Robinho and Ianis Stoica. And it's the former who makes the eventual challenge on Pepe, his fellow countryman. And he is called over by the referee as a result. No yellow card, but just a talking to for the Estrela number 8. Now here's the ball forward for Porto, and there's a tumble in the penalty area which the referee waves away the acclaims of. And can Estrela clear their lines? It's Langer who takes one too many touches really for his own good inside the penalty area, and then he's clattered into as a result, and the yellow card is brandished, this time to Dennis Goul, the Porto goal scorer from 12 yards just 5 minutes ago, committing a foul of his own inside the Estrela penalty area and having his name taken as a result. Langer took a touch too heavy for his own good as he attempted to play the ball out of danger there, but he was able to reach it first. Well, the earlier claim was for a barge in the back on Gabri Vega by Max Schulze. And that's a claim that falls on deaf ears as Porto were making their way into the danger zone. The game will resume shortly with an Estrela free kick. Dennis Goul will have to walk on eggshells for the rest of this game. Well, perhaps the game won't resume as quickly as would have been hoped, because Bruno Langer is currently being seen to by the Estrela medical staff. We just want to make sure the Mozambique international is fit to continue. Left back on the pitch this evening is Bruno Langer, and it was a left back who was on the score sheet when these two teams met earlier in the season, all the way back in mid-December. In Francisco Mora on the bench this afternoon, or this evening rather. Remains to be seen whether or not his introduction will be necessary, with Jakob Kiwior doing a fine job for Francesco Farioli's men. There's another collision that's left an Estrela man crumpled to the ground on the edge of the centre circle, but the ball has been won back by the home team now. Here comes Eddie Doué, looking to fire the ball out to the left-hand side, which he does. Stoica tries the 1-2 return with Janssen, and the intervention is made by Rosario and stabbed all the way back to David Grillo on the edge of his own penalty area now for Estrela, and he waits for the pressure of Pepe before making the clearance. Everybody back to their feet wearing Estrela colours now as it's launched forward to the head of Pinho. There's a challenge that I think has led to a collision of heads on the edge of the centre circle, and the referee very nearly tripping over one of those downed players, that being Pablo Rosario for Porto. He and Eddie Doué both going for the same ball and connecting with each other there. It's a bit of a nasty one, that. The connection is very much there. Of course, extra precaution is taken when there are potential head injuries in football nowadays, which can never be seen as a bad thing. Want to make sure any flesh wounds are addressed as the game is further delayed for more injury concerns. And a penalty decision earlier on that has led to the opening goal of this match might lead one to believe we're expecting an additional 4 minutes at the end of this first half. Still just shy of 20 to go before we get there. There's still some medical attention necessary on the field. I believe that the Porto man Rosario is back to his feet. The last thing that Estrela will want is another injury concern. Of course, it was an injury concern at the very start of this game, before the game even kicked off, that saw David Grillo appointed in between the sticks, ahead of his opposite number goalkeeper in Renan Ribeiro. Wonder if the number 40 would be an option should there be any concerns surrounding David Grillo. Well, nevertheless, everybody back to their feet now for both teams, including Eddie Doué for Estrela, who is briefly shown to the touchline to make sure that the medical staff can determine he knows how many fingers they're holding up. Quick dab with the magic sponge. We'll see the Ivorian back onto the field in very short order. For now, there's a battle going on for the ball on the right hand side from an Estrela perspective, which is won in the end by the Nigerian Abraham Marcus. 5 goals to his name in the Liga Portugal this season. Also 5 assists to his name as well. The top goal contributor by a wide margin for Estrela, as there's a challenge made here on Schulze, but the German is very lucky. Resulted in a free kick because he looked like he was trying to bite off more than he could chew, being surrounded by players in navy blue about 10 yards ahead of his own penalty area. He's lucky that the challenge that was made was seen by the referee as a foul, as an eventual clearance is made down the left hand side for Estrela by Langa. Here is Costa into the feet of Froholt, tries to stab it away from Stoica, and as Costa went in for the loose ball, he's been caught by an outstretched leg. I think Robinho might be in trouble here. He's the culprit. Alberto Costa going for a loose ball after it was looped up into the air, and I'm not sure there was any contact. It looks as though Costa gets his leg out of the way in time. That doesn't stop him tumbling to the ground very theatrically indeed, and I think because of the lack of contact, this incident is able to be generally waved away by the referee. A free kick awarded, yes, for the nature of the attempted challenge by Robinho, but no contact means no further concerns, as Costa, right as rain now, attempts to swing it towards the edge of the penalty area from deep on the right hand side, and the defensive duties are well orchestrated by Otavio, who makes it to the halfway line before having his pocket picked. And now here goes Vega down the right hand side, or right of centre rather. Now he's looking out to the wings, where he is doing his best to run away from Robinho, turning and returning possession to Thiago Silva as this game ticks into the 30th minute. Estrela de Amadora 0, FC Porto 1. Dennis Gould with the opening goal on 17 minutes from the penalty spot. Thrown to come on the left hand side now for FC Porto, from just behind their halfway line. Taken by Kiwior. A little bit of a wayward throw from Jakub Kiwior there that had almost a bit too much on it for the legs of Gabri Vega, but he did just about make it before his opposite number, and it's Froholt who now plays it forward down the line. Pepe keeps it going after the momentary intervention. Pepe, Rosario, 25 yards away, right of centre, lays it off. Pepe thinking about the strike from range, decides against it, tries to slip it in behind to Goul. Intercepted, and now here come Estrela on the counter-attack. And the pace of Eddie Doué has allowed for a 2-on-2. He has his pocket pick from behind. That's a brilliant recovery from Jakub Kiwior. He got that exactly right. And you can see the sweat dripping off his brow there as he returns to his position at left-back. That was some excellent recovery defending from the Portuguese defender. Did very well indeed to catch up to Eddie Doué and to steal the ball away from him as he approached the 25-yard or so mark. Here come Porto now on the counter. Out to the left-hand side for Pietaszewski. Cross-comes shot from the Polish winger. And it bounces very comfortably indeed into the arms of David Grillo. He will take those all day long. Food and drink for a goalkeeper at the top level in Portugal. Pietaszewski with another warning shot. He does fancy himself when he drifts inside onto his right foot from the left wing. It's impressive just how comfortable he is as part of this Porto starting 11, despite only being 17 years of age. Any mathematicians amongst you, that means a 2008-9 birth date. Not to make anybody feel old. I know it does me. Here is Grillo, the goalkeeper now. Launching it out towards the left-hand side where Stoiche is waiting. Headed back where it came from for Porto, and Rosario brings it down on the halfway line, manages to feed it out to the left for Pietaszewski. Here he goes again. Oscar Pietaszewski to the corner of the box, tries to slip it in behind for the continued run of Rosario, who wasn't on his wavelength. And that will be mopped up very comfortably indeed for Stefan Lekovic. And for David Grillo, he'll be more than happy to see that one away from his danger area. He plays it short to Lekovic now on the... It's Schulze who plays it forward now down the line. Battle between Abraham Marcus, which he loses out to Jakub Kiwior, and Pietaszewski attempts the 1-2 with Dennis Goul, and that would have been very creative and very slick indeed, but Goul's return ball didn't have enough on it. Intercepted by Schulze on the recovery, played back to the goalkeeper, whose clearance finds Froholt. Laid out to the right hand side, it's Alberto Costa's delivery. Goul trying to get his foot on it, and his first touch plays the ball directly into the feet of Kevin Høeg-Jansen, who makes an almighty clearance to the centre circle, headed back where it came from for Porto, out to the left-hand side off Jakub Kiwior. It will be a throw-in for Estrela to come. Wonder if Jakub Kiwior's caught his breath from that earlier recovery run where he was able to pinch the ball back off Eddie Doué. Did ever so well to keep up with the Ivorian midfielder. Eddie Doué, no stranger to goals recently, having been on the score sheet as Estrela recorded their last league win 4 games ago now against Casapia, another team involved in their relegation battle that is currently being undertaken by João Nuno's men. And the man to score against Porto this season for Estrela was in the reverse fixture, that 3-1 defeat, that being Abraham Marcus. Estrela in possession now as we approach the final 10 minutes of this first half. Estrela de Amadora 0, SC Porto 1. Here is Lekovic out to Schulze. Schulze into the feet of Doué. About 5 or 10 yards in front of the centre circle, inside of the Porto half. Doué makes his way into space on the right and switches to the left to bring Otavio into play. Now on the left, here goes Langer, a little bit of an optimistic run. Manages to reach the 30-yard line or so before being tripped, and the referee dismisses any claims for a free kick. And now Gabri Veiga goes down. I'm not sure exactly what that was that's sent the Spaniard down to the turf, but Estrela say thank you very much, we'll have that back. And the bending shot comes in from the right-hand side from Marcus, and it looked like it was going to cause trouble there for Diogo Costa. But getting in his way to stop the strike was Pablo Rosario. Well, Vega's now back to his feet, but he is hobbling very, very prominently. That might have been the first sight at goal that Estrela have really been afforded in the opening 35 minutes of this match. Fell to their top scorer Abraham Marcus, who did the majority of the legwork himself, cutting in from the right hand side and finding space to get the shot away. It didn't make it very far though before being blasted into the leg of Pablo Rosario. Away it goes now from David Grillo. Nodded into the air by Rodrigo Pinho, headed down by Doué, out to the right for Marcus. Now forward it goes from Schulze, who'd made the overlapping run, but there's nobody in red, white and green in any rush to make a run into the penalty area to chase down that loose ball. And I think the game's just going to be held up for a brief moment. Or I think that might have just been the referee's countdown. I thought it was going to be that the 5 fingers were raised in a stop gesture towards Diogo Costa, potentially concerning Gabri Veiga, who was moving very gingerly just a moment ago, but no, that was a 5 and then a 4 and then a 3. Get on with it, please, Diogo. And he does. And here come Porto now in the midfield. It's laid off by Veiga, who appears to be running at full speed again. Here's Costa on the corner of the box, able to dig out the cross, and it's Goul with a header. It's 2-0 to Porto. Plumb on the head of Dennis Goul, who doubles his goal tally for the day and puts serious daylight in between Estrela de Amadora and the league leaders. With just shy of 10 minutes to play at the end of this first half, they look very good value for money indeed for the travelling contingent inside of the Estadio Jose Gomez. And Dennis Goul is reaping every reward that is being sent his way in this Liga Portugal game. Came into this match having scored just twice in the league this season. He's now made it 4 in the league this season, doubling his individual goal tally in the Liga Portugal. He does stay on side. The delivery from Costa is plumb on the head of Dennis Goul from the corner of the box. Nobody tracks his run. As soon as the ball is in the air, he knows exactly where he needs to be, and the Estrela defenders certainly don't. And it's a powerful header that completely wrong-foots Grillo, who can do very little about it from such close range. It's another assist for Alberto Costa, which takes him to 8 in the Liga Portugal this season, which means he is the out-and-out top assist maker in the league this season for the Dragons. And it's those goal contributions that are going to continue to fire them towards the Liga Portugal title. Game back underway now by Estrela. Back to Grillo in between the sticks, and he sends a mammoth ball forward that is knocked down by Thiago Silva and mopped up now by Jakub Kiwior. 20 minutes exactly separating the 2 goals that have been scored by Dennis Goul, 17 and 37. For anybody playing along at home, anybody who might have had any money on first goal scorer or time of first goal. Here is Goul now. Looks to switch from left of centre to the right hand side, but puts way too much on it for Alberto Costa or for Pepe, neither of whom were willing runners on that occasion. Throw in to come now on the left hand side for Estrela, taken by the left back Langa. Right the way back to Grillo it goes. First time ball forward by Grillo, headed down for Porto. It's going to be brought under control by Goul, 30 yards away or so, left of centre. Pietaszewski with a layoff. Kiwior's come forward to the corner of the box and he's tripped from behind. Referee says nothing about it. Very much 6 of one and half a dozen of another, as Eddie Doué very nearly has his pocket picked by his own teammate. He stays on his feet and is able to feed it out to the left hand side for Stoicha. Searching ball over the top. The chase is on for Pinho. He's not going to beat Bednarek to the ball at the corner of the penalty area. The clearance is made by the Polish defender. You have to imagine Francesco Farioli will be very happy indeed with the dominant position his team have managed to find themselves in, and yet he's still appealing to the 4th official for every decision that he can, wondering why there was no foul committed there according to the referee on Jakub Kiwior. Led to the Estrela counter-attack that was snuffed down in the end by Bednarek. Grillo the goalkeeper with another clearance now for Estrela. Doesn't quite reach the halfway line before it's headed back where it came from by Jan Bednarek, all the way back to the goalkeeper David Grillo, who decides to throw it out this time to Langa. Langa tries to find Pinho sitting on the halfway line, intercepted well by Froholt, who now receives the return pass from Rosario. Froholt out to the left hand side for Pietaszewski. Here come Porto in numbers again. To the corner of the penalty area goes Pietaszewski. This way and that, gets into the penalty area, goes down again. He wants a repeat of the decision that led to the first goal. No penalty awarded on this occasion. Rosario back out to the left. Here's Kiwior. Pietaszewski again, going to try again. And you know what it is they say about madness, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, and this time Estrela were ready for him. Intervention well made by Stefan Lekovic. And they're going to play their way out of danger now. Less than 5 minutes of normal time to play at the end of this first half. Estrela de Amadora 0. FC Porto 2. Pino picks up the ball on the edge of the middle third, inside of the Porto half for Estrela. Now here is Janssen. Out to the left-hand side for Eddie Doué. Janssen again. Now Lekovic. Now Doué again in the centre. Now Janssen again on the edge of the centre circle. Janssen going to go on a solo run here, and he gets to the edge of the penalty area before firing. Just over the top of the crossbar. Well, perhaps just over is generous. There's a bit of distance between the strike from the Swedish midfielder and the tippity top of Diogo Costa's crossbar. Still an outstretched arm from the Porto captain. He wasn't 100% sure that wasn't going to dip into the top corner. It's moments like that that Estrella are going to need to truly capitalise on if they want to get anything out of this game now, and it's mad to think that at this stage of the game they need to think about preserving their opportunities as if they're going to be so few and far between with so long to go. But Porto immovable at the top of the Liga Portugal. It'll be very hard to argue with, especially in a commanding position such as a 2-0 lead. Farioli knows what he's doing on the touchline. He knows how to get the best out of these players. He knows how to help the Dragons reascend to the top of the Liga Portugal table, which is where they are now. 7 points between them and Benfica at the time of this game, with this scoreline taken into consideration. 31 games played it would be if the referee were to call full time now for whatever reason. And another switch is made for Porto with the Estrela defences at 6s and 7s. Pepe attempts the delivery, and the recovery from Otavio is exactly what Estrela needed. He's able to keep it in play on the touchline and launch it down the flank, because Pepe had the freedom of the Estadio Jose Gomez there as he received the ball into his feet for an over-the-top pass by Gabri Veiga. Important intervention there for Otavio on the recovery, and a clearance that did the job. Here is Thiago Silva. Now Costa. 8 assists to his name now in the Liga Portugal this season after teeing up Dennis Gould's second of the afternoon. For it currently being 6:45 in the evening, in fact, to call it the afternoon is a little bit generous. Well, we'll discuss the weather in a moment, because here come Porto again. Out to the right-hand side for Pepe, who lifts a left-footed cross into the middle. Not a very conclusive header to clear it away. It's Froholt, and it's closed down at close range. Punched half away by Grillo now as it loops up into the air, and the referee finally sees something wrong with the Porto attack. Offside called, as Victor Froholt took on a good opportunity there from just inside the box. Closed down at close range by Stefan Lekovic, and as it looped up into the air, Grillo, going for the ball to punch it half clear, was challenged by 2 players in blue who were both standing in offside positions at the time of Victor Froholt's attempt at goal, and that's why the assistant's flag on the near side went up. Well, as I was going to say, the sun is still crashing down here onto the Estadio Jose Gomez, which you might expect for this time of year in Iberia. But it is 7:15 at night, I remind you, where this game is being played. And yet, the sun cream might still be necessary. Speaking as a native Brit, what a life that would be. All eyes turning to the 4th official then inside the Stadio Jose Gomez, as the ball is cleared away by David Grillo. Brought under control by Schulzer on the right-hand side. How much added time then, ref? Looks like we're not going to find out just yet, as the deflected cross is lifted into the penalty area from left of centre. It's going to be chested down on the edge of the box where there's a trip made on Robinho, which the referee ignores for the moment. Now it will be 2 added minutes. That took a few seconds to indicate there from the officiating team. But 2 additional minutes now as Dennis Gould is tripped on the counter for FC Porto. I'm not actually sure which way the referee's awarded this free kick, because the chase was on for that loose ball between Gould and between Eddie Doué. I think the foul has been committed by the Ivorian. Or has it? Might have been a dive that the referee thinks he spotted there, because I'm sure he indicated for an Estrela free kick. Gabriel Vega now barking orders at his team to get back and defend, and it looks as though it will be a free kick in favour of Estrela. It looked for all the world like Doué was the aggressor in that situation there between himself and Dennis Gould, but here comes a crossing opportunity from deep now for Bruno Langa. It's a delivery now from the full-back that goes over the top of everybody, and Porto are going to be more than happy to shepherd this one out for a goal kick of their own. A very frustrated look daubs the face of Bruno Langa there after that free kick. Nobody latching onto it. It was a free kick that left something to be desired to the come to the defence of his teammates, but at the same time, maybe I'm just falling for the fact that it was very easily defended by Porto in the end. Well, here comes a goal kick now with less than 10 seconds of additional time. The referee encouraging the game to be played, but I'm not sure there's going to be anything else that happens in the closing stages of this first half, as a miscued clearance goes for a throw by Bruno Langa. And the referee, looking at his watch, blows for half-time. It has been a very, very standard day at the office so far for FC Porto. They make their way down the tunnel at the Estadio Jose Gomez, very comfortable in their 2-0 lead. Thanks very much indeed to Dennis Gould, the man who scored the opening goal on 17 minutes from the penalty spot after a challenge inside the penalty area on Oskar Piataszewski. And it was a challenge mistimed by Kevin Høeg-Jansen, for which he was rightly booked. And the conversion was academic from Gould. And his second goal was a bullet header from the edge of the 6-yard box when he made an unmarked run into the danger area to latch onto Alberto Costa's delivery to allow the full-back to notch his 8th assist of the season, to take him clear of his teammates in the race for Porto's top assist provider in the league this season. Half-time at the Estadio Jose Gomez, and the away team are very much in control. It's Estrela de Amadaro 0, FC Porto 2. Tune in 15 minutes or so for the second half of this live audio coverage. Good evening and welcome back to this live audio coverage of this Liga Portugal clash. You join us on the precipice of the second half, with both teams having made their way out of the tunnel at the Estadio José Gomes. It is Estrela de Amadora playing host to league leaders Porto, with the league leaders currently in the lead in this particular game as well, thanks to two first half goals, including one from the penalty spot for Turkish striker Deniz Gül. My name is Jay Cooper and I will be your commentator for the next 45 minutes or so to run you through the second half of the action emanating from the city of Amadora. And it will be Porto who get us kicked off for this second half in their all navy blue strip with the yellow trim, kicking from right to left in a 4-3-3 formation. Estrela going the other way in their red, green and white striped shirts, the white shorts and the white socks from left to right, mirroring their away team in formation. And just before this second half gets truly underway, there are two substitutions to tell you about. We are going to see the introduction of the Cape Verde international Jovene Cabral, who actually scored an own goal the last time these two teams met, right the way back in December. He has been brought onto the field in place of the German right-back Max Schulze. And I believe, in fact, calling that the first of two substitutions is wrong. I think that's just the one that's been made at the start of this second half, although immediately there is a question to be asked of Jan Bednarek for Porto, who is down in a heap following a coming together with the Estrela man. So confirmation on the changes that have been made. In fact, the second change is very much in effect. Bit of a delay in the report that's being received by your commentator, but for absolute confirmation, Paulo Moreira has been brought onto the field in place of Doué, and we've seen the introduction of Cabral ahead of Schulze as well. As Estrela retake possession now on the halfway line, looking to keep it deep inside their own half, at the feet of Robinho, who looks to switch from left to right towards the corner of the penalty area. And the newly introduced Cabral could chase down the loose ball. Kiwior making the appropriate intervention with this throw-in. There's confirmation of one more change that will be made for Estrela. Plenty of rolls of the dice in the early stages of this second half. We're also going to see the introduction in place of Eddie Doué of Jefferson Encada. And there you have your confirmation of everybody currently on the field for Estrela. Three substitutions in the very early stages of this first half. One of them currently in possession now, being Jovene Cabral, who was brought onto the field for Max Schulze. We've also seen the removals of the midfielders Kevin Hoog Janssen and Eddie Doué for Paulo Moreira and Jefferson Encada. Got there in the end. It only took 2.5 minutes of this second half to confirm all of those changes that have been made right out of the traps for Estrela by the manager João Nuno, opting to reach straight to his deck reshuffling options, hoping that his team will be able to salvage something from this game with some fresh legs. First half largely dominated by Porto, in which Deniz Gül was able to bag 2 goals for himself, to double his goal tally for the season in the Liga Portugal. One from 12 yards after some smart footwork by Oskar Pietrzewski, getting into the penalty area on the left hand side before being tripped by Janssen. And another one latching onto the end of an Alberto Costa cross, who notched his 8th assist of the season with that delivery plumb on the head of the Turkish forward. You're up to date now as the second half is well underway. Here is the Estrela goalkeeper David Grillo. A very late addition to the starting 11 is Grillo, a player who has played since the opening whistle of this game, but was not initially pegged to start this one ahead of Renan Ribeiro, who, with concerns surrounding his ability to play out the full 90, has been relegated to the bench. On the left hand side now for Estrela, it's Bruno Langa who attempts to feed it into the feet of Jefferson Encada. I believe Encada's going to be dropping a little bit deeper than the man he replaced in the starting 11 in Kevin Hoog Janssen, Swedish midfielder for a defender hailing from Guinea-Bissau. Pietrzewski running into trouble. It's Encada who stands him up now on the left-hand side, and Pietrzewski stays down now as Encada continues the counter for Estrela. Looks to deliver towards the edge of the penalty area. Pinho was lurking, but alert to the situation, as he has been throughout a stellar career, is Thiago Silva. Not want to let a simple cross from deep undo the good work that he has done since his arrival at Porto, despite being 41 years old. And now it's his opposite number in the age department, Pietrzewski, trying his best to escape the presence of Abraham Marcus doing his defensive duties for Estrela, who just about manages to pinch the ball away from the Polish youngster. However, after feeding the ball to the feet of Encada, who turns under a bit of pressure from Pietrzewski on the retreat, Encada has passed it right out for what would be a corner, were it not for the referee's decision, I believe, to award a free kick Encada's way for the attempt of Pietrzewski to win back possession. It's interesting because the earlier challenge by Encada looks a little bit rougher on Pietrzewski than the one that he was the victim of. 17-year-old at this stage, no strangers to being bundled to the ground on a repeated basis when it comes to plying his trade. Well, the free kick decision has not been awarded. Instead it will be a corner, and it's headed goalwards and beaten over the top of the crossbar by Grillo. It was just a wayward pass in the end there by Jefferson Encada that led to that corner kick. The delivery from Vega was good, and the header right on the edge of the 6-yard area. It was a combination of Kirior and Bednarek going for the same ball. I believe it's Bednarek who got the decisive touch that sent it goalwards, and David Grillo forced to react. Second consecutive corner now. Vega's delivery headed away this time off an Estrela player. Nodded down to the edge of the penalty area. Pepe strikes it first time. Couldn't resist the half volley opportunity as it fell in his direction, but the stop is made at close range, and the counter attack for Estrela was briefly on, were it not for a bit of a wayward pass forward to the run of Robinho down the left hand side by Giovanni Cabral. Out it goes for a Porto throw in, and they will reassume control of the game. Going to be taken by Alberto Costa. As mentioned, the assist maker for that second goal that was scored in this game by Denis Gul. His 8th assist of the season in the league, which takes him clear of his teammates in Victor Froholt when it comes to the assist record in the league this season for Porto. It comes to the individual awards that these players will receive. Top assist maker looks very much in the hands of the Portuguese number 20. Here come Estrela now, attempting to slip the ball behind the back line via Robinho. Now able to find a way through for Pinho, who is making a bending run into the penalty area on the right hand side. Kirior in the way, and in doing so he's been clattered into from behind by Encada, who's really left his mark already on this game, challenging for every ball that he can with Pietrzewski, and now going toe to toe with Jakub Kirior, placing the tricky 17-year-old winger with a hard-hitting veteran Polish centre-back. Here is Gabri Vega now off the resulting free kick, launched forward by Diogo Costa, who has had very little to do throughout the 53 minutes that this game has proceeded to this stage. Something of a spectator to this point, not had to make any concrete saves, once or twice been called upon to command his penalty area or to come forward as a potential passing option for his defensive line. Challenge made just outside of the centre circle, inside of the Estrela half. Sliding tackle by Abraham Marcus. Porto maintain possession. Here is Jakub Kirior. Now it's Bednarek, centre circle. Takes his time before releasing the ball out to the right hand side. Plenty of room here for Alberto Costa to bring it down. Can he find space for the delivery? It's deflected. It'll go away for a Porto corner, their first of the second half. Just shy of 10 minutes in. Deflected away off Bruno Langa. Turns and shouting at his teammates that there was very little to be done beyond getting in the way of the cross there for Alberto Costa. who is going to leave this corner kick to Gabri Veiga, the set-piece maestro for the Dragons. As the likes of Bednarek and Kirior and Silva make their presences known in the penalty area. It's Vega's delivery. It's very deep. It's going to come all the way to the back corner of the box where Piataszewski picks up the pieces, launches it back into the danger area. The header down is good. It must be volleyed in. It's volleyed over the top by Dennis Goul. I think he was offside anyway. The assistant's flag has gone up on the far side, I believe. The referee's noticed that. But Dennis Goul, having already scored twice in this game, had a very good opportunity indeed there to get his knee over the ball and create number 3 for himself. He's not in an offside position when the knockdown is made by Thiago Silva, but the Brazilian defender certainly was standing in advance of the last Estrela defender as Piataszewski's ball finds him in the box. No complaints then about the official's decision, but a few complaints maybe to be had about the attempted finish by Dennis Goul. Plays back to their goalkeeper Grillo now from Lekovic. Forward it goes by David Grillo. Out to the left hand side looking for Jovene Cabral. Not able to find his target, but there is a foul committed on the edge of the middle third inside of the Estrela half, which Victor Froholt is very bemused by. He and the Estrela substitutes Paulo Moreira going for the same loose ball, with Moreira also having Veiga at his back. The referee decides that the two players surrounding him were doing too much in an attempt to win the ball back for Porto. As an attempted heavy touch is taken now for Porto by Dennis Goul in an attempt to race away from Lekovic. Good sliding challenge on the right hand side of the pitch from an Estrela point of view. Concedes the throw taken by Kirior. Here is Piataszewski. Returns it to Kirior on the edge of the penalty area, who's been separated from the ball now by Jovene Cabral, who fights his way into possession before being dragged out from behind by Kirior, who it appears did not get the final touch there, but was just a bit too over-aggressive with his opposite number. Certainly so much so for the referee's liking. So at this stage of the game I feel compelled to mention the referee is Mr. Helder Carvalho for this game. Clad in the mostly yellow strips, save for the black shorts. He's accompanied on the VAR this evening by Luis Ferreira at the Estadio Jose Gomez. And just over 9,000 people watching on, analysing this game. Here is Thiago Silva for Porto. Silva into the feet of Goul, who's retreated to the halfway line to provide a passing option to his veteran defender. Silva again now into the feet, this time of Veiga. Veiga out to the left for Kirior, and now it's returned to the Spaniard. Veiga runs into traffic, and it's a ball in behind that's going to make it all the way through. Here goes the winger. It's Abraham Marcus who's missed. That was a really good opportunity there for Abraham Marcus. It was a ball in behind from the midfield area by Cabral. He was able to twist this way and that to leave Rosario in the dust, and the dummy from Pino as the ball is slipped in behind. The run of Marcus is on. Pino knows it, he lets it go. Marcus gets there, he holds off Kirior, he gets one-on-one, and as he tries to roll it underneath Diogo Costa, who comes up big at the corner of his 6-yard area, he can't find the target. Good opportunity wasted there for Estrela. That would have halved the deficit with just over 10 minutes of this second half having been played. We're into the 58th minute of the match. And instead of reading 2-0, it could have read 2-1, but instead Porto, as of right now, maintain their clean sheet. Forward by Encada for Estrela. All the way forward, in fact. Diogo Costa comes to the corner of his penalty area to reach it. Here is Jan Bednarek. Now Rosario, bit of a hospital pass back to Kiwior, whose first time clearance goes down the line. Pepe going up for the header, beaten in the air by Langer. Up off Froholt and chested down now by Cabral. Backwards by Moreira, and then forwards again from the defence by Lekovic, looking for Marcus, doesn't find his feet. Pietaszewski switches from left to right, brought down by Pepe. A little bit of space and a passing option short in Rosario if he wants it. He tries to stab it beyond Langer, but he's stood up instead by the Mozambique fullback. Froholt now comes to help, and he's been sandwiched and able to win a throw off a combination of Otavio and Bruno Langer. It's a throw in now on the right hand side for Porto, but not before two changes are made, and that will be the end of the evening for two players, including the man with 2 goals to his name in this game, Deniz Gül. His race is run. It's a roll of the dice from Francesco Farioli as he attempts to help his team build on this advantage. Gül and Pepe, 2 forwards, are replaced, and it appears coming on in their place. One of them will be Terem Moffi. He appears to be the like for like for the 2-goal scoring Deniz Gül. In terms of who will make their way onto the field for Pepe, it appears there's only one option really in William Gomez. As soon as confirmation is provided, I will make you aware. It is definitely Terem Moffi who comes on for Deniz Gül now, and he immediately gets involved in this Porto attack. On the right hand side, it is William Gomez who's been brought onto the field for Pepe, and he's now trying to win possession back as Estrela attempt to clear down the flank. It's a clearance that leads to a late challenge being made by Terem Moffi, and it will be a Estrela free kick from about 5 yards in front of their own corner flag. It's a free kick from Langer that doesn't get very far, just about reached the edge of the defensive third for Estrela before being intercepted, but he gets a second attempt to clear it away. And on the halfway line another challenge is committed, this time on Abraham Marcus by Gabri Veiga. Referee seeing something wrong with that. Free kick for Estrela, taken backwards by Lekovic. He gets the return ball and attempts to launch it right the way forward, looking for the feet of Ioannis Stoica. And Stoica is going to latch onto this ball now that's been threaded through to him. He's hit the post, the rebound must be! It's off the post again! How has Abraham Marcus missed? Moreira, it's not away yet. The delivery goes into the arms of Diogo Costa. How on earth has Abraham Marcus missed? A wry smile on the face of his captain Rodrigo Pinho. He can't believe that his team's top scorer has not just halved the deficit. A very smart ball in behind to the run of Ioannis Stoica. He latches onto it and takes the shot on from the left hand side across the goalkeeper. It hits the far post. It rebounds into the path of Marcus. The goal is gaping ahead of him. There's less than 10 yards and he hits the post. And it's just that kind of luck that Estrela really didn't need from this position that they're in. 2-0 down. It should absolutely have been 2-1. If you take into consideration the other opportunity that Abraham Marcus had about 5 minutes earlier, it should be 2-2. That is an astonishing miss from the Nigerian winger. Forward it goes now by Rosario. A bit of a hopeful chase by Terem Moffi. Food and drink for David Grillo, who rolls it out to his defender, Otavio, who's maybe taking off a bit more than he can chew here because William Gomez has pinched it back and tried to square it. I'm not sure if that took a touch on its way through. William Gomez certainly seems to think it did. Looks as though bodies are getting back here for Estrela. They must feel that this game is just against them. It must just not to be today. 2 strikes of the post in 3 seconds of each other. And now a corner to defend. A needlessly conceded one at that. Gabri Veiga will take it from the right hand side. There is bemusement on the face of João Nuno on the touchline. Headed up into the air. It's going to drop for Pietaszewski, who fancied it on the volley. It's been closed down at source. Porto not allowing Estrela to launch a counter. Back out to William Gomez. He's tripped. The referee surely will blow the whistle for that one. And I'm wrong. Apparently not. William Gomez potentially just to have jumped over the outstretched leg of his marker there as Estrela carry on playing. Here is Abraham Marcus. He's been nibbled at from behind by Jakub Kiwior. Forward it goes now. The delivery across towards Pino from the right hand side. It was launched into the danger area by Stoicha. Rodrigo Pino unable to reach it in time before it went out of play, but that earlier challenge, it was Cabral who tripped over Gomez, and it looked for all the world like there was contact. There's definitely nothing on the ball from Giovanni Cabral. Might have been lucky there not to have conceded a free kick in a very promising crossing position there for the Dragons. 20 minutes on the clock then in this second half, and it's a second half where Estrela de Amadora really should have put some damage on this Porto clean sheet, and yet it remains Estrela 0, Porto 2. Both teams have rolled the dice with substitutions, including Dennis Gould, who scored twice in the first half, being removed for Porto. Abraham Marcus with the miss of the season potentially from so close on the rebound just a few moments ago, hitting the post. Here is Bednarek. Bednarek gets it back and feeds it down the line for William Gomez, who's been left in plenty of room as he approaches the corner of the box. Gomez teasing Langer, able to dig out the cross, and I'm not sure where that ricocheted off. That might have come off the post, or it may well have just been beaten away by David Grillo, who appeals to the referee that the response to that William Gomez cross-come shot should in fact be a goal kick. As Gomez gets it out of his feet, it doesn't look like it actually does take a touch off Grillo, but it definitely ricochets off the woodwork. That would have been a very awkward goal to concede for David Grillo at his near post. It seemed to just slip through his hands and ricochet away off the woodwork. Away it goes now from Grillo. Abraham Marcus brings it down, a little unconventionally, but it's been kept hold of now here by Stoicha. Driving down the right hand side, Pino's getting in the middle, but the cross leaves something to be desired. It's kept alive by Encada. Back into the feet of Stoicha. Now Cabral pulls it back. Here is Marcus. Delivers from deep. It's chased down by Moreira and Robinho, both getting into the penalty area, and it's the Brazilian who comes the closest before being bundled out of the way by Thiago Silva. Right the way back into the arms of Diogo Costa, and he's quick to get it out of his danger area. Down the flank. Here is William Gomez again. He's got Froholt ahead of him if he fancies. He's also got Alberto Costa behind. It would appear that Porto are readying a couple more substitutions. But for now the ball's in play and they're looking to build from the back. It's Bednarek. Silva. Now Kiwior. Now Bednarek again. Now Vega. Right on the halfway line. FC Porto here, keeping the ball to themselves. Cheeky attempted flick by Rosario there into the feet of Moffi. Doesn't come off as Porto attempt to break right through the middle of the Estrela back line. Here is Marcus. Lifting it over the top now, and it's going to be chased down by Silva and returned to sender. Down the left hand side, Vega keeps it in play. Just about inside of the Porto half, feeds it to Rosario over the halfway line. That's a brilliant ball from Rosario. Piataszewski into the box, able to square it towards Moffi. Sliding recovery challenge, perfectly timed from Giovanni Cabral. Really important interception there for Estrela. That would have been on a plate for Terem Moffi were it not for the sliding challenge of the Estrela defender. Getting everything he could on the ball to make the clearance. Well, here come two more changes for Porto now before the throw-in is taken. And it looks as though one of those changes is going to be Alberto Costa. The assist provider for the second goal is removed from the field of play for Martin Fernandez. And the other change comes in the form of Rodrigo Mora, player who had a very impressive season last time around. 10 goals to his name, the second highest scorer that was on display for Porto as they finished third in the Liga Portugal. He's made his way onto the field at the expense of Gabri Veiga. 20 minutes of normal time to play here. And it would appear that Francesco Farioli's men are more than in control of proceedings at the Estadio Jose Gomez. Fresh legs on the field all round as Estrela try and create something for themselves now. In the midfield area it was Moreira who laid it off to the edge of the centre circle. It's played out to the right hand side now for Encada, who's got Marcus ahead of him. Encada continues his overlapping run, but Marcus isn't going to find him. Bednarek seeing the ball out of play. Porto goal kick to come. Smart defensive work by Jan Bednarek there, just making sure that Encada wasn't going to reach it before it went out of play. One more change in the offing for Estrela here. I believe we're going to see the introduction of Sidney van Huysdonk, Dutch forward who arrived in the January transfer window from NAC Breda. Team who are sorely missing his contributions in front of goal, being currently second bottom of the Eredivisie. Kiwior into the feet of Pietaszewski, trying to drive now from the heart of the midfield forward. He's had his pocket picked on the recovery by Giovanni Cabral. Right the way back to Grillo here, whose clearance is a bit miscued, but Langer rose the highest on the left hand side to knock it down to the halfway line, where it's been recovered by Fernandez, getting his first touch of the ball since his introduction for Porto. Now here they come down the right hand side. It's Fernandez's delivery. Moffi is the target. It's up into the air. It's going to drop for Mora. He measured that all the way down onto his left foot there, Rodrigo Mora. Really fancied himself as it fell out of the sky. It came down with snow on it after being headed up into the air by Stefan Lekovic. Judged it well. Just couldn't keep his knee over the ball on the volley. Too much welly. It flies over the top of David Grillo's goal. Well, Giovanni Cabral is going to inherit the armband here, because the change that's being made is the withdrawal of Rodrigo Pinho. He comes off the field for Estrela to allow for the introduction of Sidney van Huysdonk. Pinho's had a day of general inactivity for Estrela de Amadora, and his final attacking partner who started the game is also going to be replaced, because Ioannis Stoica, his race is run, it would seem, and that is substitution number 5 now, with just shy of 17 minutes left to play of normal time. That is every card that Estrela have had to play to allow Alisson Jesus onto the field, at the expense of the Romanian winger. Throw in on the right hand side now for Estrela, taken by Encada. Back to the defender Lekovic, who shepherds it right the way back to the goalkeeper Grillo. Now it's a long clearance that's been allowed to bounce on the halfway line before being launched back into the air by Bednarek. Chested down on the halfway line for Estrela by the newly appointed captain in Giovanni Cabral. Encada backwards to Lekovic, who remains partnered up with Otavio as part of the back four, despite all the shuffling and reshuffling that's been done in this Estrela team throughout this second half. That has stayed consistent. Getting into the penalty area now is Jesus, making his first contribution, an important one perhaps. Switches from right to left, crossing position on the flank now for Langer, twisting and turning, able to release it into the feet of Marcus. Now into the penalty area, Abraham Marcus goes for it, closed down at source by Rosario. Another switch from right to left this time by Moreira. Now Langa's delivery from deep. Abraham Marcus at close range, saved by Diogo Costa. Comes out to the edge of the box. Moreira can't keep it under his control. Here comes Rosario, and here comes the Porto counter-attack. All of a sudden it's 4-on-4. It's Moffi out to the left-hand side. Pietaszewski trying to make space for the shot. Still Pietaszewski further and further into the box. Looks to the referee after being tripped. And Elder Carvalho, who gave him a penalty in the first half, says no way this time around. But the game is going to be held up ever so briefly because Diogo Costa is down on the turf after coming right out to Abraham Marcus to stop that close range opportunity. What a ball that was from Bruno Langa to allow Marcus to reach it on the corner of the 6-yard box. He reaches it with a first time volley that I think goes a little bit awry. He seems to bounce off one foot into his other leg, but it's going in, and Costa gets in the way before being absolutely wiped out by Abraham Marcus, who can't stop his own momentum. And Porto will just want to make sure that their starting goalkeeper has not been the victim of any serious damage after that collision with Marcus, who also stayed down in the immediate aftermath. Neither player at 100% after that collision. Diogo Costa's adrenaline keeping him on his feet as Porto maintained defensive positions, but as soon as the counter-attack went underway, both players tumbled to the ground. It was Pietaszewski in the penalty area. There is a question, you know, as to whether or not the challenge by Paulo Moreira gets any of the ball. It certainly gets some of the man. It's definitely a trip inside the box, and Pietaszewski knows exactly how to win those penalty kicks. We saw him do it in the first half. Well, priority one is making sure that Diogo Costa and Abraham Marcus are okay. A collision of the two 99s on the field. And following that, it might be the first real impact on the game for the VAR referee in Luis Ferreira, because that challenge on Pietaszewski as he made his way into the box did not look clean. The referee's on-field decision was play on. He has attempted it a few times, so you can't blame the referee for presuming that Pietaszewski did it to himself. Well, the game's going to resume now with an Estrela drop ball, which means that VAR is not going to bother with that potential penalty decision, or at least if they did, the decision was stick with what you went with. Meanwhile, here come Estrela down the right hand side. It's Encada getting into the penalty area, trying to deliver from the right hand side. It goes over the top of everybody. It's going to be chased down on the far side by William Gomez, who is dropped from behind by Langa. Here is Jesus. Langa again trying to make space for the cross, tripped by Gomez, and the referee does see something wrong with that, and Gomez can't believe that the challenge that Langa committed on him just a minute ago wasn't a foul, but that one was. It's hard to argue that that one was a foul by William Gomez. He stuck his leg out and didn't get any of the ball. Langa went over it. But it's a mirror of a challenge that was made on Pietaszewski just a moment ago, inside of the Estrela penalty area. One of those that's always given outside the box, but it's a point of contention inside. Estrela free kick then on the left hand side. Crossing opportunity. 28 or so metres from goal. One-man wall, and it will be Van Hooijdonk who takes it, which might suggest a shot is coming in, because you'd normally have a target man striker in the middle of the penalty area from this kind of position. William Gomez offering the one-man wall, being barked at by Diogo Costa. What does the Dutchman have up his sleeve here? The referee just telling Otavio and Martin Fernandez to behave in the penalty area. Also having a quick word with Jakub Kiwior, and Diogo Costa's coming over to tell the referee what for. Some pushing and shoving going on the 6-yard line, as Van Hooijdonk awaits for the opportunity to strike it goalwards, and it's gone all the way in. It might have taken a touch on its way through off Otavio. The claim for Diogo Costa and for Porto is that that was offside, but if the final touch was off of the defender, then he has halved the deficit for Estrela. There's certainly no offside against Otavio if he does get a decisive touch. Van Hooijdonk, I think, was hoping that if nobody got a nick on it, that it would find its way in of its own accord. It is the faintest of touches. Otavio is actually lurking at the back post. There is a flick, I believe, off of a different Estrela player. It's Cabral who leaps the highest. He heads it into the far post. Otavio wants to claim he got a touch. I don't think he did. He did try. That might cause the refereeing team to give this one a second glance, but if the next action is a Porto kickoff, then the goal will be credited to Giovanni Cabral, who scored an own goal in the reverse fixture when these two teams met at the Estadio de Dragao all the way back in mid-December. He appears to have righted that wrong, and it's Estrela 1, Porto 2. The protests continue as VAR is going to be called into effect here. Cabral doesn't know what he's done wrong. It came off my head, it went in. I think the concern surrounds the attempt of Otavio right at the back post. Whether or not he got a touch. It appears that he is standing in an advanced position of the defensive line, but he doesn't get a touch. So if the ball goes in of its own accord, he's also not in the referee's way, he's not in the goalkeeper's way. The goal stands, there we go. The kickoff is taken for Porto. And with 10 minutes to play, Estrela de Amadora are back in this game. Giovanni Cabral will be credited with the goal. He has righted the wrongs of his own goal in the 3-1 defeat at the Estadio de Dragao all the way back in December. And here we go again, Estrela with a bit of renewed vigour about themselves. The team 15th in the league, if they are to salvage anything from this match, would either equal or eclipse their points tally from the 2024-25 campaign. And it would do them wonders in their battle against relegation now, as a challenge is made on the right-hand side. It was Abraham Marcus driving down the flank, being bundled down by a recovering Rosario, I believe it was. Well, the yellow cards are being dished out all over the place now by Elder Carvalho. Not sure if Abraham Marcus is the recipient of one of them. There's Marcus drove away. It's Moffey on the recovery. It's the forward who reaches out an arm and pushes Abraham Marcus to the ground. And the yellow card, I believe, is awarded to the Porto bench, or at least in the direction of the Porto bench, for the reaction to that challenge that was made. Estrela right in front of the challenge that was made by Moffey. The Estrela bench, that is, they were appealing for the free kick, and the Porto bench were appealing for otherwise. And it appears the dissent has been directed at the visiting staff. Well, free kick to come now for Estrela. What can they salvage from this? It was a free kick from the wide positions that led to their first goal. Standing over the top of this one is Langer. He launches it into the penalty area. It's attacked at the back post. It's not going to be reached in the end at full stretch by Otavio. Goes away for a Porto goal kick. And every attempt at goal that Estrela are not able to convert now, every attacking opportunity, will feel like a let-off for the Dragons. Momentum very much in favour of the home team at this stage at the Estadio Jose Gomez. They want to take something out of this game with the would-be champions. Otavio thought he'd scored the first goal for Estrela just a few moments ago. He was unable to get a touch, which meant the goal was credited instead to Giovanni Cabral, as one more change is made for Porto. You're going to see the withdrawal from the field of Jakub Kiwior, and in his stead comes Seko Fofana, midfielder relatively recently on the score sheet against Braga in a match that meant plenty in the Liga Portugal title race. Also a goal scorer in a 2-2 draw the week after with Malisao, the team in the European hunt. Can he potentially have an impact on this game? If Porto are to score once again, then they would recreate the goal scoring margin by which they beat Estrela on their own turf. Foul committed on the right hand side now by Van Hooijdonk. It's going to be cleared away by Diogo Costa on the flank for Porto. Everybody getting forward now for the Dragons. Long clearance made towards Moffey. It's allowed to bounce. It's flicked on by Gomez into the penalty area. Pietaszewski holds on before feeding it back to Jan Bednarek, lurking on the edge of his own centre circle. There was no other good passing option. Seko Fofana gets his first involvement. It's Martin Fernandez, held up by Moffey, attempts to backheel it for the run of William Gomez, kept alive on the right. It's Fernandez with the delivery. Moffey's in the middle, Gomez too. It's pinballed away and eventually dribbled out of the danger area by Langer, who's able to feed it out to the left hand side. Here is Cabral, put under a bit of pressure by Fernandez. Twisting and turning, able to release it to Langer further up the field. Langer tries to squeeze it forward again. In the midfield area, it's Moreira that's tripped from behind. Appeals to the referee fall on deaf ears from the Estrela fans inside of the Estadio Jose Gomez. Now a challenge made on Pietaszewski on the right hand side by Jefferson Encada. That one was always going to earn a free kick, and a yellow card is going to be brandished now to the Guinea-Bissau defender. As soon as the referee blew his whistle, he was shouting in the direction of the referee. Oh, I think actually the yellow card's not going to be brandished to Encada. I think it's going to be given to Lekovic for his protests. Pietaszewski, according to the Estrela defenders anyway, went down too easily. Disagreeing with the referee will earn you a place in their book, as Stefan Lekovic has just found out. Free kick opportunity then for Porto on the left hand side. It's going to be taken by Rodrigo Mora. It's going to be an in-swinging delivery from about 40 yards away, left of centre, very deep, nodded down by Moffey. Nobody in blue to latch onto it. Langer can't get it clear. Does it the second attempt. Just about clears the halfway line now as Mora chases it down with Martin Fernandez. It's an Estrela player that reaches it, but it goes out of play before he can. On the left-hand side, it was Alisson Jesus driving forward. He was unable to keep it under his control, keep it from going out of play. Throw in for Porto on the right-hand side. Martin Fernandez will take it. This game's now set up to be a lot more of a tense ending than it looked like it was ever going to be in the first half. A first half dominated by Denis Goul in particular, who scored twice for Porto, once from the penalty spot. Pietaszewski causing all kinds of trouble on the wing. He's now chasing down a loose ball with Encada on the left, who reaches it first and holds off the Polish teenager. He's got the fresher legs. Encada right the way forward now. He's marauding down the flank. He's able to make it level with the edge of the penalty area and dig out the cross, which was awkward. Diogo Costa didn't know where it was landing. Went over the top of his bar in the end. Encada convinced it took a deflection. Referee says otherwise. Must have run 60 yards there, Jefferson Encada, as he drove right the way down the flank. Really impressive at this stage of the game. Of course, he has only been on the field since the half-time whistle. Same can't be said of the man chasing him down in 17-year-old Oskar Pietaszewski. Chested down by Moffey now after the long clearance by Diogo Costa. Not able to be controlled on the halfway line by Sidney van Hooijdonk. Encada is going to get away with the ball again on the right-hand side after another collision with Pietaszewski. Moreira. Now here is Marcus. Backwards to Lekovic. A layoff is just about made into the feet of Langer now. He's got Jesus with him if he needs support. Here is Jesus. It's back to Langer, who's continued his run into a crossing position. Bruno Langer's delivery. Van Hooijdonk. Good save by Diogo Costa. Save he had to make there. In the end, it was food and drink for a goalkeeper of his quality. Van Hooijdonk getting some good redirection on the cross. Just not the right direction to go either side of the goalkeeper, really. Good height for Diogo Costa. Got everything he could behind it. Made sure he left no scraps on the penalty area. As again, Estrela try and get it forward down the right-hand side. It's been intervened on by Bednarek. But Abraham Marcus twisting and turning away from Pietaszewski, who's been dragged back there by Van Hooijdonk, and the referee spotted it straight away. Yellow card immediately awarded to the Estrela substitute forward. Reaching out with his arm and pulling back on the shoulder. Yellow card all day long. Oh, the referee's just brandished a red. I'm not sure who has just been awarded a red card here. I think it might be somebody on the touchline for their protests. It's not Van Hooijdonk. He's still on the pitch. Well, the referee reached into his pocket just a second ago and pointed a red card in the direction, I believe, of the Porto bench. That's a stab in the dark, just because a yellow was awarded in that direction about 10 minutes ago. But the protests that Van Hooijdonk was awarded a yellow card there, or the protests over the challenge itself, have led to somebody getting a bit too mouthy towards the referee. Well, little moments of madness there from the Porto dugout will take us into the 90th minute. All eyes on the fourth official. How many additional minutes at the end of this game? There was a VAR check, remember, on that first goal for Estrela. And up goes the board. It's 5. Estrela de Amadoro have 5 minutes to save a point against the league leaders. And all the momentum is in their favour at the moment. Every single attacking opportunity that has come in this game for the last, call it 20 minutes, has been in the favour of the home team, and they've got the crowd right behind them. It's a stadium with a capacity less than 10,000 people, excuse me, but that doesn't mean that it is not a boiling pot of noise right now. Challenged by Pietaszewski on the left-hand side. Claims for a free kick fall on deaf ears. Pietaszewski this way and that to escape from Abraham Marcus. Lekovic gets in the way. Pietaszewski's bundled over right in front of his own manager. Referee says nothing about it. Seko Fofana holds up the play on the halfway line. Launch forward now for FC Porto. Fofana's going to get onto the half clearance. Out to right of centre. Fofana happy to slow things down. Porto still in control of this game, remember. They lead 2-1. Victory here means they go 7 points clear at the top of the Liga Portugal table with just 4 games left to play. Just 3 games left to play, rather. Correcting my own maths, excuse me. This is number 31 of 34. As a good ball is played in behind now for Porto. Driving down the left-hand side, it's Mora who leaves the ball behind. Mora recovers possession now, tries to lay it off to the edge of the box where Froholt was waiting. And he's had his pocket picked by Lekovic. Forward it goes now by Moreira. Here is Cabral. Trying to twist and turn away from 3 players in blue. Not going to come off. Foul committed now by Seko Fofana. Getting a bit too close to Cabral, it seems. Opportunity to get bodies forward here for Estrela. It's a short free kick played by Otavio. Out to the left-hand side now for the delivery by Langa. It goes right the way into the arms of Diogo Costa, excuse me. He will take that all day long. Referee indicating that Diogo Costa needs to release the ball, and he does just about in time without incurring a yellow card. He might take one at this stage of the game, really, as Porto look to hold on, because the attacks keep coming for Estrela de Amadoro. Here is Abraham Marcus on the right hand side. Marcus with the delivery, flicked up into the air off Van Hooijdonk, brought down by Cabral on the left hand side. Can he make space for a cross or shot? Instead he releases it backwards to Langa. Langa fires a cross-come shot across the face of goal. It goes high over the top of Diogo Costa's goal. Even Lekovic was getting forward into the penalty area to provide a potential heading opportunity. Langa went for glory. 30 yards plus away from goal. Cuts across it well. It was powerful. It was swerving, but it wasn't accurate enough. Well, the Porto fans are a mixture of cheering for their team to get them over the line and biting their nails because they are not 100% sure that this game is in their hands at this stage. Estrela de Amadoro have put up one heck of a fight in this second half as Diogo Costa takes his time with this goal kick with 1 more minute of the additional 5 to play. Estrela de Amadoro 1, Porto 2, launched away by Diogo Costa. Can the hosts find something? Diogo Costa is booked now for time wasting before that goal kick was taken. Here is Jesus. Dispossessed. Here's Froholt. All of a sudden there's more bodies forward for Porto than there are back for Estrela. Froholt lays it off. William Gomez tries to pull it back to Froholt, intercepted by Otavio, who attempts to release it into the feet of Cabral, intercepted by Seko Fofana at the halfway line. Now Silva, Fofana again. If Porto keep the ball, they keep the points. They're trying their best, keep it amongst themselves as a interception is made. There was a late challenge there on the right hand side which the referee spotted. I think a free kick's been awarded to Porto here. They're going to have the opportunity to launch it towards the Estrela penalty area as we tick into the 5th additional minute of the 5. If there's time for this free kick, it will be the last action of the match. And I think those Porto fans are starting to realise they're about to get over the line. One hand on the championship. Can't be confirmed today, but this could be 7 points between them and the chasing pack as it's clipped forward for Porto. The referee blows the full-time whistle. They've done it just about at the Estadio Jose Gomez. Credit to the home team, Estrela de Amadora, because they have put up an almighty fight against the would-be champions on home soil. But they were undone twice in the second half and they were unable to climb that mountain. A penalty conceded by Kevin Hug Janssen, converted by Dennis Gould for his 3rd of the season. And he followed that up with a header 20 minutes later, 8 minutes from the end of the first half, to notch his 4th of the season. He's doubled his goal tally for the season in just one game this afternoon. And in the second half, there were chances aplenty for Estrela. Abraham Marcus with an incredible miss in the relatively early stages of the second half. They were eventually able to pull one back with 10 minutes left through their substitute captain Giovanni Cabral. But despite the pressure, the Dragons have held out and they are now 7 points clear at the top of the Liga Portugal following this weekend's festivities. Full time at the Estadio Jose Gomez. It's Estrela de Amadora 1, excuse me. I'll try that again. Full time at the Estadio Jose Gomez. It is Estrela de Amadora 1, FC Porto 2. Thank you very much for tuning into this live audio coverage. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I've been Jay Cooper and we'll see you very soon for some more live football action. Goodbye for now.